Today we're going to talk about everything 303 and why I love it. We're also going to cover one of the techniques I use to create my own 303 lines and the plugins that I use on the actual 303 channel to kind of give it a bit more oomph. And do I think this is the greatest bass machine out there? No, but I do love it, and I do love its simplicity and what it can do. So let's just dive in and we'll do a quick rundown of the 303. It's pretty much the same on most clones, and we can see why I love it and why I hate it, and then we'll get into creating the acid line. So I've just got one that I prepared earlier, and so you guys can hear what's going on. So on the side we just have sawtooth, square wave, we have the tuning knob, we have a cutoff filter, we have a little resonance, what everyone knows. We have the envelope mod and the decay. So this is obviously how much the envelope, and this is just the decay. Super simple. So obviously there's none there. Everything's controlled by the cutoff. And then we can start to bring in the envelope mod. Super plucky sort of sound. And then we've got the accent here. You can hear the little bite on some of those notes. So that's just the accent. And as you can see, mine has been MIDI modified because after writing the patterns on here like a chump for a couple of years, and it's just painstaking, I just was like, I bit the bullet and I was like, I know it's going to change how it sounds, but I just said no, I love it too much and I want to use it more, and that kind of pulled me away. Just the not the effort, but just like the labor that went into it to getting a good pattern can really be hit and miss. So let's get into creating an acid line. So here we're going to create a little MIDI region, and then in that MIDI region we'll just come along. So that's just triggering the 303, and then I'm bringing the audio back in on this 303 channel here. So we're going to create 16 notes, and that will give us super boring, but you get the idea of what's going on. So from here is where I'm going to start to take away notes, move notes around, and join notes together to slide them between each other. So let's grab these first two and we'll join them together, and let's move them up an octave. And then let's also drag it over so that it slides down to the next note. So you can hear that. You can already hear how it's going to be going. So from here, I'm just going to randomly grab some of these notes, and we'll go up an octave, go this one, maybe this one, and we'll go this one just up to here. And as you can see, I'm using just all white notes just to make things super simple for this tutorial. So from here, let's start to maybe grab this one, and we're going to slide that up. And then for this one, let's go down one. And for this one, let's slide that over to there, and this one can go to here. So you can hear there, starting to get a little more slippery. But in my opinion, it's super busy at the moment. So what we can do is we'll start to take away some notes. Maybe this one. Maybe this one. And maybe this one. So instead of actually getting rid of that one, let's unmute it and then let's join them together. Let's bring that one back, and I kind of like the two together there. Maybe that one. Let's get rid of this one and bring this one back. Let's get rid of this one. Bring this one up to here, and let's slide this one up. Let's get rid of this one. Maybe drag that. Maybe do one big slide. So you can see it's starting to develop an idea. It's not something that I would really kind of dig too much at the moment, but let me show you a little technique that I use. Once I'm kind of close, I kind of like the notes, but maybe not love them. There's one thing that I do to try and salvage the possible work that I put in. So let's bring this down. You can see we just got the one bar loop, and we're going to drag this over. So we got 2 full bars now. And then as you can see, we start on the downbeat here, but we have like kind of a pre-roll. So what I can start to do now is I'm going to shift it over by 1, and that's just going to be one note that I'm shifting it over. So it's all right. Let's shift it over one more. Ooh, that's starting to get there. Let's go back one. I kind of like that, and with a little bit of more finessing, we can get something that we really like. So let's now, we'll go in, we're going to cut the front off, say keep, and then we're going to cut the back off as well. Okay, and then we're just going to create, we're going to join those together and create one loop again, one bar loop. Want to make sure that we clean it up with the MIDI there, and then I think maybe just muting this one. And just say that we get to a point and we're like, yep, we love it. Let's now move on. So from here, I would start to look at adding some accent notes. And that's super, super simple on this. Whereas I can just select the notes that I want. And then we're going to come along and we're going to just change the velocity up to the max. Now when we start to increase the accent here, and we can dial that back a little bit, so keep it, don't want it too crazy. I think maybe if I move this over, So we kind of got something there, and maybe now we're like, okay, that's a goer. Now let's move on and start to look at a little bit of effects to kind of give it a bit more oomph and kind of dial in the mix a little bit. When it's not a full mix, but we're just going to dial it in a little bit. So as you can see here, we have an EQ, the R bass from Waves, and a compressor. So first up, I'm just going to add, you can see I've already added this little low cut from the EQ, and this is the same as any EQ in your recording software, your DAW that you're using. And you can see where these accent notes, so you see we need to bring them down a little bit. We don't want too much volume out of them. I think that just tightens up the low end a little bit, and obviously when it does come to the full mix, we're kind of getting rid of anything that we don't need. Next up is the big one that really changes the sound of the 303 in my opinion, and I use this on the 303 all the time, as well as other bass instruments that don't quite have enough of that sub frequency information. So let's we'll turn it on, we'll bring it down, and then we'll start to add it so you can kind of hear, and then I'll A/B it so you can hear that with and without. And then we'll go without. It's like a lot thinner, and then when we bring it back, just adds like a little bit more beef to the low end. Obviously you could go and add a sub in underneath and then EQ them both and everything like that. But for me, especially if I've got like a pretty beefy kick and I kind of want that to carry the track along, and I just want the 303 as the instrument that's going to provide that bass but not sort of eat up everything. I find that the R bass from Waves is really good to kind of fill that hole. And then lastly, we have just a little simple sidechain compression. We turn this on. You see, we can even bring that down a little bit. Like 4 dB reduction, just to kind of give a little bit more room to the kick and let everything breathe. And when it does come time to adding more elements, you can kind of get a rough idea for how everything's sitting in the mix. And always you got to do a little check to see how it sounds with the sawtooth. And I think that's pretty good. It's getting close. I might not keep this idea, but you definitely get to see the technique behind how I develop an acid line and the plugins that I use with the 303. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, I don't have enough for a 303. I don't have enough for a clone. I don't have enough to go buy a plugin, a 303 plugin. What do I do? And I hit up one of my friends, Sharuz, and he has meticulously sampled his 303, and I've got a link down below so you can download that for free and get cracking and start making your own 303 lines. So hopefully you got something out of this video, and hopefully I've inspired you to create something today. And until next time, see you later.